All right, you're gonna have to bear with me for today. Got some background distraction. Not in my studio. Yeah, I call it a studio. My office has yet to come, and when I get it, hopefully it looks a lot better than this. So, hello, and today we're going to go ahead and discuss the topic of discussion. It's just pretty much some live chat comments I had from podcast Five Times August, and that this is not going to be my main focus, but the reason I like utilizing this channel a lot, not my channel, the Five Times August, is because it's a good representation of what regular people believe, and since I'm on the left, a lot of people that are on the right, they tend to think like this, and they're from Texas. I'm from Texas too. I represent, and I don't really utilize my state in a way to divide. You know what? If you want to come to Texas, cool, but just be mindful that growth adds to expense. So, as a native Texan, pretty much been here my whole life. Yeah, just know that and be sympathetic to the cost of living increasing due to the growth, and keep that in mind when you vote for people. So, we're going to go ahead and continue. I'm actually over the debate with COVID-19, but you know what? A lot of conservatives are like, why are we still talking about COVID-19 still? Well, they're bringing it up. They're referencing tweets and they like to make content, but they make it look like they're not keeping that debate going. So this pretty much tells you how I feel about COVID. And let's go ahead and take a look about this individual.
This is bullshit. And somebody like at a company said, how do you feel about the destruction of our constitutional rights forcing us to wear a mask, right? Yeah. And so then the moderator's like all nervous asking me the question. He's like, well, we got a question here at 10:11 that says, what do you think about our constitutional rights being? And so now I'm talking to a company that's got people on both sides. Right, some people are like pro-mask, some people are anti-maskers, and this anti-masker chimes in, and so I said, hey, listen, there's a bunch of rules. Actually, I told a story. I told a story about being in the Navy. I was on a ship as a SEAL, and we would wait in line for chow. And when you're waiting in line for chow in the Navy, you weren't allowed to lean against the wall.
The bulkhead?
The bulkhead, yeah. So you've heard this story before. So you're not allowed to lean on the wall. You're not allowed to lean on what's called the bulkhead of a ship. And whoever was in charge of the line, because there'd be a petty officer that's actually in charge of the line. And if he saw you leaning on the bulkhead, it's like, hey, get off the bulkhead, right? So it doesn't matter what rank he is or what rank you are. He's just going to tell. It doesn't matter. You're a SEAL. You're whatever. It doesn't matter. He's got some authority, and he's going to flex it. Oh, yeah. And what I realized is, hey, man, like, whatever. Okay.
Exactly. Whatever. That's how I see it. I mean, if you present data and facts to me, and I can reference statistics, and I can just see that there's some negative consequences that come with not being responsible, that, would establish rules. We have people that have already did their study and their research and compare it with data from all over the world. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll wear a mask. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to go cry about my liberties, because what a lot of people on the right don't realize, that your liberties have nothing to do with wearing a mask or getting vaccinated, because that's not something guaranteed in our Constitution. I mean, George Washington himself made his troops get vaccinated for, I believe it was smallpox. So I'm not saying I'm pro big pharma or I'm pro getting, stuff injected to inside of you without doing your due diligence. By all means, do your research, which the data is out there. And that's one thing Craig always says. So if the data is out there, and if it's actually leaning toward, yes, this is a good idea, that's when they start pivoting. That's when they start saying, okay, now we got the data against us, and now the FDA approved it, but I still don't want to do it. And then they'll still make it look like it's not a selfish take, because it's about everyone's liberties. Respect my liberties, I respect your liberties. That's the new kind of framing they're trying to put this. And you know what? That's fine, because like I said, I'm a full-blown advocate for personal liberties, but that's the thing. They're personalized for you as an individual. When you have a privilege that affects everybody else, they're no longer personal liberties. Your choices are affecting other people. So you're wanting us, not directly saying, but people that are more prone to getting sick, you stay at home so I can go out. I mean, where's the compromise right there? There is a compromise. And, any other medication you take, there's a risk. And that was his big concern about, like, you know what, there's a con that, I could die. You know what, I don't want to take that risk. That's why I'm a little bit more cautious. Well, I'm pretty sure any medication that he's taken has probably had just as big as risk. So, is it afraid? Are you afraid of needles? Are you afraid of? I mean, the thing is, it's not just vaccines, but just wearing a mask too. And then that's something we've blatantly seen his brother being against. And that was pretty much the main topic I wanted to debate, not necessarily the vaccines, but is now we see the cases going up in Texas, which I'm going to talk about because that was one of the things I was letting him know about. Our governor Abbott was like applying for federal assistance because of the pandemic, and he was wanting federal aid to help staff hospitals and all that. So I'm just like, when is it a time, based on your personal rubric, to really just dip into your self-interpret personal liberties? So, he was saying, well, I know people that work in my area that, support my mindset. And I can say the same thing too. And my mindset is pretty much going to complement Craig's as well, because I'm all about personal liberties. But at the same time, when you present facts in front of me, this is my county, and you can see the ICU beds and 100% capacity is being reached. And this is not just the capacity of child ICU beds. And there was still some more. I could have scrolled down, and Craig was talking about how it wasn't bad in his area. Well, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and see if I can. I actually got some of his data up here, so I don't know if I can stretch this. Let me go ahead and see if I can do this really quick. I definitely want to go ahead and research this. I don't like. Let me go ahead and make this look a little bit distorted, so we can just look at this a little bit. Sorry if it's a little, distorted. But you can see there's Garland, Grand Prairie, and then right around between those cities is the the Dallas Metroplex. And you can see a lot of over 90% of the ICU bed occupancy just not being available. And this was like the day after their podcast. And that's a lot of red. And then right below that or above the red is orange, 80 to 89%, which is not a good statistic you want to really be in. So, I'm just like, I think one of the things that, just calls me to do what I do is when I see a fellow Texan just pushing, their opinions out there, which is cool. But, we need to have our opinions based on facts because I think that just does our listeners justice so they can make their own opinions, right? And I'm pretty sure he could attest to that. But he gave his personal take. He goes, I actually talk to people that work in these fields. Well, I'm related to people that work in these fields too. I'm not trying to say that as a smile, but we got what we got, as far as to back up our takes. And I also got the data. So I never saw him put the data out there. And when he tried to reference the data last time I showed it, he tried to flip it around and say, hey, deaths are the only thing that matters. Well, I'm having deaths out there. I'm having COVID rates out there. I'm having actual hometown ICU bed of occupancy just being out there where he lives and where I live. So I don't know when it's a good idea in his head or in Brad's head to like, maybe we should think about some compromises. It's just like personal liberties. You could just see how they move the goalposts. Well, it's not that deadly. Well, the rates aren't that crazy for COVID rates. Well, the death rates. I mean, it's always something. And, they're always like, well, can you go into context more? Of course I can. I'm just not on your show to defend my little keyboard warrior tactics. So let's go ahead and address some of those live chats because we had a buddy on there that was cool. I mean, he was a good guy. When I make these videos, it's not just to harp and just to be negative. It's actually to just dig deeper critically and all the issues that are important to us. So we had this guy named Cliff Marco. Hopefully that's not his real name. I don't want to get everyone's personal information out there. But, he made some comments that I don't think I got to address. So let's go ahead and use this time to address that. We all know they are private. So this is based to a comment that I made that, do you want the government to tell private industries not to enforce masks or vaccines? And I said they can do what they want. They're a private company, When you hire someone, I'm pretty sure there's some things that you put in that contract that they're all different. Depending on what you agreed on and depending on what you signed, I mean, it's not going to be taking away any of your rights. You agree to it. So that's the part that's very gray. So a lot of these people are complaining now that they're getting fired or not being able to keep their jobs due to their rejection of wearing masks or getting vaccinated. Hey, man, you signed something. You're obligated to make money for that company. So that's capitalism. You know, if you don't like that, you want the government to implement the will on a private corporation. That's just, the area I wanted to talk about. But I don't think people on the right like to entertain that. They just want to go ahead and make it sound like their beef is the only thing that matters. They don't want to look at the part or you agreed to when you signed all those papers to be employed by that company. So let me finish reading what he said. We all know they're private. They're lacking a consistency as it pertains to this. They're self-regulating as bull, and such a large percentage of people consume their news on these places. So, that's like to going to Facebook, I guess, and Google. They're private companies. They can do what they want. And I do agree to you to a certain extent. They are trying to push like they're the source of news. And when you're given that responsibility, if you're actually a source of news, you have to not push opinions. You have to be non-biased. But I mean, we have Newsmax, we have Fox News. So come on, dude. I mean, it's ultimately up to us to keep ourselves informed. And, that's one of the things Craig and Brad was like saying, well, who can we trust? Each other. I'm not lying to you. I'm showing you my facts, and you might not like them. But you know what? The best way to inform ourselves is to have that conversation. If you just want to go ahead and look in Twitter, Brad, that's not going to get you informed. That's just going to get you more outrage. And I promise, that's not my mission to make you upset with me. So hopefully this conversation, gives people the ability to make that decision for themselves. Sorry, I'm fidgety. I got this blue marker. All right. So Cliff Marco also pointed out, Joe and Kamala both said they wouldn't take the vaccine if it came out during the Trump administration. What's scientific about that? So I said the party of science was, typically the Democrat Party, and I could definitely defend that. I mean, I remember back when I was younger, stem cell research was like a big advancement in our medical community, and it was the right wing that was anti-stem cell research to help cure so many kinds of ailments out there, and they were saying it was against their religion to dive deeper into that practice. And also when we were dissecting the DNA strands, that was another an act of blasphemy. So yeah, just based on those two, I'm pretty sure I can think of some other non-science um, point of views from the Republican Party. So that's pretty much why you guys earned that title. You prevent progress when it comes to science. And I'm not saying that's for everybody that's in a Republican Party, as far as like constituents and doctors that actually work in the scientific field that are Republican. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to vote Republican. But yeah, that's on you guys. And I'm pretty sure you could probably toss some scientific jabs toward the Democrats, and I might agree with you. So let's continue. The different perspective. Also, the least vaccine adherent communities include Latino, African American minorities, predominantly blue cities. Wonder how many of them voted Republican. Yes, I mean, I don't really see this as necessarily blue versus red when it comes to getting vaccinated. It's all about being informed and educated. When you're going to get a lot of media that doesn't give you the right news, or talking to people that are willing to give you that right news, it's not biased to make you feel guilty, to make you feel belittle you if you didn't do the right thing. Yeah, that can be something. Excuse my kids in the background. This is not my home, so we're gonna get a home in mid-October. So if you guys have been reading my updates on the YouTube channel, just want to go ahead and explain why that background noise is going on. Hey, this is real. I'm authentic. I'm trying to make a difference by just having my conversations out there and creating that dialogue. So back to this. I do see a lot of people that are not vaccinated that share my color of skin, my ethnicity. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, or whatever. There's a demographic out there. But if you want to look at it in a holistic way, the southern states, I don't look at it as in race, just where Republicans congregate. You could be brown, you could be black, white, whatever. The southern states are the states that are having the biggest COVID outbreaks. And since I live in a southern state, I don't want to have my kids around a glob of people that could possibly infect them because we haven't got a vaccine for kids yet. And that's one area where I wish that we could see some more progress in. So, parents could be rest assured. All right. And I am vaccinated. I did not vote for Joe. I know some science. Well, yeah, I'm sure you do know some science. But like I said, when it came to stem cell research and taking this DNA apart, you guys weren't pro science. At least your party wasn't. And by no means does that represent you as an individual, that specific area. But that's how you got the reputation in your party. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some other takes from our good friend Cliff Marco. And you know what? Hey, man, if you ever want to have a conversation, I'm not trying to just get Brad and Greg's attention. I like having those conversations because of them. I'm trying to get their audience to have that dialogue with me. So, interesting. No one is up on Kamala. Quite disappointing as she is the vice president. I wonder why she was Joe's selection. That's easy. Now, Kamala Harris was a horrible candidate. I mean, if you reference the primaries for the Democratic Party, she did very poorly. She didn't even win her own state. But before the primaries started, she was considered one of the front runners. She was considered the darling of the Democratic Party. She was, I think, the one they were trying to push, and it just didn't work out for them because the people didn't want her. But since she was one of the stronger candidates from the very start, and it was their golden child. You know, Joe was picked because of he wasn't doing too good, but he was the person seen by the political establishment that he was the one that was more likely to beat Trump. So just based on electability, Joe Biden won, and I guess for them to just wanting to keep the Democratic version of the swamp in there, and that's just my opinion. A lot of people that I know kind of like Kamala, and I can definitely have a debate with them saying why. But yeah, I guess she's part of what they wanted, and then Joe's what they had to utilize to beat Trump, which I disagree. I didn't vote for Joe in the primary, and I didn't vote for Kamala in the primary, but she's just someone that, and she's not doing that good, dude. I mean, if you want to go ahead and say why she's so quiet, because she's polling really bad right now. I mean, she's not even liked with people on the left. So you can't just push that and generalize everyone on the left. Say, hey, look, Kamala's not popular. We can thank us for that because we're not making her popular either, there, buddy. So don't trust the fellow with anything more than a birdshot. Oh yeah, that was in the regards of me talking about Dick Cheney, because the title of this. I know it's all over the place because I didn't get to make this as nice as I wanted to. You're just going to hear me rambling off. But yeah, it was like, were we better off 20 years ago? And I was like, no, because, well, actually I said yes, because that was before the Bush administration killed our economy. And also Dick Cheney was kind of responsible for pushing the war too. And that's why he said, can't trust Dick Cheney, because he shot one of his buddies in the face with a shotgun. Yeah, but, okay, a different perspective. Yeah, but private organizations being forced to fire unvaccinated employees with threats of $14,000 fines for violations and infringement of many levels. That depends. What was your contract, buddy? If you signed something to abide by their policies, there ain't nothing protecting you, man. I mean, it's corporations are able to make laws. They buy off politicians. I mean, I agree. You shouldn't have that much power, but at the same time, you can't make an argument when you're not in the right on paper. So that's how we make and create order in this country, contracts and all that. So unfortunately, I might agree with you to a certain extent, but there's no rights that are violated, because if there's certain positions, like the military, for example, I think Brad was like saying, well, our troops made sure we had, I was like, you're using the bad comparison. People that join the military have to get vaccinated, and they're going to be mandated to get the COVID vaccine. So it's just like, it depends on what kind of occupation you're in. You're going to have to get treated. And even as an American, we have to get required vaccinations. So I just don't see this as a big topic. That's why I don't like spending that much time, but people are pushing it still. And that includes Brad and Greg. I mean, they want to make it look like they're not pushing it, but they'll go to Twitter to get some content to be outraged about. And I'm just using them because they're fellow Texans. I'm using not Twitter examples. And Cliff is saying, I work in pharma. We can't keep ivermectin in stock. Yeah, because people are trying to use, that's the thing I don't understand. That's not something that's been researched to treat COVID per se. It does treat certain things that help fight things that are aligned with COVID, from what I'm aware of. But it just would seem like, why would you spend money on that? Because it's not going to be free, and getting the COVID vaccine's free. And I'm kind of curious, since Cliff works in big pharma with big pharma, uh, is ivermectin the the what's the word I'm looking for? The side effects compared to the side effects with COVID vaccine. How do they compare? And it's used to treat malaria, and it's just not a horse dewormer. Yeah, I know that, and I think CNN and a lot of you know outraged network television news networks use that. They dog Joe Rogan. I mean, Joe Rogan got the team of medical doctors to give him the exact measurement of what he could utilize for that. And I think a lot of people, they don't know how to get the measurements, and that's how they ended up in the hospital. So based on a lot of reports of a lot of people taking ivermectin, they just didn't take it the right way. And I am not encouraging to do that. Take what's already been correctly measured for the right amount of dosage, and it's free. So I don't know why people are doubting science, but yet they want to talk about a science that you end up paying for that could be just as hazardous. And Cliff, if you can give me a good comparison of the side effects between those two, that would be awesome, because I don't think that's something that gets discussed. And Joe Rogan also took other things that treated him for COVID. It wasn't just that by itself. He got that expensive steroid injection too, and plus the guy's in great shape. So he's not a good model to look at if you want to go ahead and say, hey, yo, I'm going to take something like Joe Rogan did. Do you look like Joe Rogan? Do you have access to his medical community? You probably don't. So it would be safe for us to take what's free, what's been researched, what's been proven worldwide. I don't really see what's the big scare about that. All right. And let me go ahead and just, I've been talking for a while, so let's go ahead and discuss one last thing. I want to close with a couple of things. I want to take a look at a past video, because the reason I'm super fascinated with Craig is because he was a self-proclaimed individual that wasn't really into politics, and he's just gotten political recently. And I think that's a good time to have these conversations, because once people go so far in, they're too far gone. And I'm not trying to convince him or his brother, but like I said, I think a lot of people think like him. So let's go ahead and see how he was in the past about regulation. And he said in this video with Are We Better Off 20 Years Ago, that he's for guns. And it's just interesting to see how people evolve. And we'll have a discussion. Let's watch this video first.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
You people.
Like, I'm sorry. It's like, what is wrong with you? Like, I don't understand. And it's one of those things where every time I see it, look, I'm not a political person by any means, and I post this on Facebook. I'm not a political person by any means. But this happens way too much.
Now, just to give you some context, this is his opinion about all the mass shootings that's been going on, and he's pro-gun regulation, which recently he's like, make himself sound more like, I'm for guns. Are you really? But just people get their emotions tied into their politics. So I just want people, I'm a fan. So I know, I remember him when he said that last podcast, that he's like, I'm for guns. Like, no, you're not. I remember watching one of your old videos from Screw Attack that you were throwing a big hissy fit about people having too many guns. So let's continue to watch his legitimate concern. And it's actually, I believe, Chad and his other buddy that are protecting gun rights. But they all come to agreement that we do need more regulations. So I'm wondering, Craig, is that lefty Craig still out there? If you are, bring him on out. Let's listen to the rest of this.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, yeah, because then he gets media coverage and it puts the thoughts in other people, and then
10 people getting shot is probably going to get media coverage.
Well, right.
I'm just saying, it's like, it's going to happen. But there's so many that don't get media coverage. That's the thing. Like, there's stats that say like there's more than a mass shooting on average every day in the United States of America.
It's outdated now.
It's like, are you kidding me? What kind of country do we live in? This is ridiculous. And I just don't understand the aspect of it. And as we learned about douchebag who did this thing yesterday, it's like however you feel about the president, however you feel about him, he made really good points yesterday as far as saying this happens way too much. the way I speak about this is becoming routine. The reactions becoming routine. Everything about this is becoming way too routine.
Yeah.
And this is, like, my wife doesn't even want to go to the movies now.
Yeah.
Because she's.
I'll go ahead and stop there, and I'll go ahead and put a link to this specific clip because, the same concerns he has about his wife, I can use that as an argument for my wife having concerns about our daughters going out, not just to movie theaters, but to school and getting sick. I don't know how the virus will affect my kids. And just the likelihood of you being shot in a gun attack is least likely. It's the argument that Chad and his buddies about to bring out. Well, I think the likelihood of my kids getting sick from COVID and possibly something bad happening, they're going to align pretty well. So it's just really interesting to see how he has this concern for guns. And I don't think Chad and the other gentleman right there actually talked Craig out of him having these legitimate concerns. And one of the things I wish Craig could have just emphasized, like, yeah, we're number one in gun violence. I mean, come on. We own the most guns in the world, so under that logic, shouldn't we be the safest country? And now we just implemented open carry without training and all that good stuff here in Texas. So I'm just like, oh, boy. And I actually was in law enforcement, and one of the biggest things they implemented, or not implement, I'm sorry, that emphasized in our training was like, God damn, everyone in their damn dog have a gun around here, so you got to be careful. I apologize for using profanity, but that was a quote used by my coordinator, stressing the concern of how many people have guns, the same concern that Craig is saying that's legitimate and also in the law enforcement community. But, there's like most people, we have hypocritical mentalities because most cops will vote Republican, just how it is. But yet their number one concern is people being armed. Yeah, so let me just go ahead and continue just about to wrap things up because you know what? We have all these issues. Good. Why is that good? So we have the opportunity to talk about our issues, come up with a good plan, make sure we can compromise. So I'm going to go ahead and close this off with another Jacko take because I think if we all have this mindset and we all treat each other with respect, have these civil commentaries, and they didn't agree, Chad and Craig, and you see, the conversation they had was beautiful. No one was leaving that room angry at each other, and they all had some good takes, and they all kind of agreed more or less. So let's go ahead and see some good advice from our good friend Jacko. And, oh, yeah, and by the way, Cliff, you told me Jacko's take with Afghanistan is something that I should watch. I probably will agree with him, so I was focused on COVID. You guys, you're pivoting, man. Don't get off topic. Yes, I probably might agree with Jacko's critique. And I do want to have a conversation about Afghanistan. I'll probably do that later. But let's go ahead and end with Jacko.
One of my direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on. And he'd say, boss, we got this and that and the other thing. And I'd look at him and I'd say, good. And finally one day he was telling me about some issue that he was having, some problem. And he said, I already know what you're going to say. And I said, well, what am I going to say? He said, you're going to say good. He said, that's what you always say. When something is wrong and going bad, you always just look at me and say good. And I said, well, yeah. When things are going bad, there's going to be some good that's going to come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get funded. Didn't get the job you wanted. Got injured. Sprained my ankle. Got tapped out? Good. Got beat? Good. You learned. Unexpected. unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out, don't get startled, don't get frustrated. If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well then hell, you still got some fight left in you.